You're listening to the Fan2Fan Podcast, and on this episode, the LaMartinas are back. That's right, you're listening to the LaMartina Halloween special, where we continue our conversation with Chris and Melissa LaMartina. And in part 2, we're talking about classic Halloween specials like Mad Monster Party and Halloween Tree, new projects, filmmaking, and more. Here we go.
It's kind of nuts to think about, like, somebody called me a workaholic recently, and I was like, I'm not a workaholic. Like, and I was thinking to myself, like, I was like, oh my God, no, we literally end our full-time jobs, then come home and work like assholes on this other stuff.
So many times we're just like, don't you wish you could just like be a normal person?
We're all in the same boat, I think, in this podcast.
I was going to say, Melissa, but even if you could you turn it off?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I wish I could be like just a person who's just like, what's on TV tonight? You know, like that I could fully be that person.
Why does it seem so foreign? I don't know.
It's so alien. Because we really torture ourselves.
I mean, I enjoy it. But
I truly do. But it is, it's exhausting. And then sometimes I am like, on my deathbed, will I be like, man, I really wish I'd spent more time with the people I love.
No, it's funny though you guys say that, because every time, like, Bernie will post about a movie he's watching, and then my first immediate thought is, oh man, I want to watch that movie. And then my next immediate thought is, he's listening to most of it because he's drawing at the same time.
100%. Yes.
I know he's working at the same time.
I am drawing while watching it, which actually brought me back because, Melissa, since we're talking for the first time, and if I'm wrong about this, by all means, please correct me. But there is a practicality in the way you talk about your creativity. And there is something that, Chris, when we were talking, I was kind of feeling that about you too. Deeper neurosis about, feeling about like wasting people's time, which maybe, again, to something you said earlier, you don't want the audience to feel like they're lulled. It's like, no, like I'm giving you what you want at a good pace, at a good cadence. Do you think that's something that you guys share? Healthy dose of product manager, or I think last time, Chris, when we were talking, it's like, when you put on product manager, marketer, Chris hat versus like, all right, now I'm filmmaker, Chris, but there's still that part of structure or formatting, or like you were saying, Melissa, creating lore, these outlines where you're like, it's as much form function as it is who you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think it's part of what makes me a good producer, is that I, as creative a person as I am, I also love a spreadsheet. And I guess you guys talked about not wasting people's time. I mean, that's always been my number one rule, like as a director, as a producer, especially, I keep going back to when I was doing theater and it being like a lot of times community theater where no one's making any money. So my number one rule was don't waste anybody's time. Don't call them to rehearsal if you're not going to use them. Get them out there so they can go home, be with their kids, be with their loved ones, whatever. So I think that it's also because like that's how I want my time to be respected. And there's no reason not to be able to do that. It's all about planning. It's all about just like knowing what you need to get done, the time frame you have to do it, and then sticking to that plan. Like nothing has angered me more in my creative life than being called for something and then like not getting used for hours. Shit, I got this thing to write. I got this other thing to do. I need to run my own auditions. Like, what am I doing here?
See, that's maybe a differentiator from us, because I feel like I don't like wasting the audience's time, if that makes sense.
But an actor's,
I mean, like, well, for me, it's like, I remember early on, it obviously depends, but like I remember early on when I was making movies, I don't know if I told the story last time I talked to you guys. When we made Book of Lore, it was this weird thing where like we had these 2 car batteries that would basically give us an hour with a Home Depot clamp light, right? And that's all I had to light certain scenes. If I told this story before, I'll tell very quickly.
No.
Brand new, yeah.
Okay. So basically, we would go to these abandoned houses and like shoot, like, which we should not have been in. This is like a really early movie in my career. And we would use these clamp lights. We could shoot for an hour before we didn't have light to shoot these scenes. And it made me move lightning fucking fast. So to the point where I would be like, I have to get exactly what I need. I have to get it soon. You better fucking know your dialogue. I mean, I remember thinking like an actor was a good actor if they knew their dialogue, because that was like I was like, that's all I need for this. But I think what ended up happening was at a certain point, I got over this fact that like, I can't rush through everything. And this was a learning curve with other producers where like you call somebody too early and it's like, well, that really sucked. They were called too early. But like, I can't stress out that dude has been here 12 hours if that's just going to make the movie bad, in my opinion. I mean, it's poor producing. I think making these low budget movies, On this last one, we only had like one day that went over 10 hours, which was very, a testament to your ability. But like, I was used to making like Call Girl had like plenty of 15-hour days, like some 20-hour days. But I had to forgive myself for having people wait around. Otherwise, like if I cared more about what's not on the screen, what's on the screen would have suffered.
There's always like, especially with lower budget stuff, it's like you always got situations where like shit happens. But I think if you start out with like a solid plan and then things deviate, that's very different from like what I'm saying, which is the alternative of just being like, let's go see what happens, which I don't think is how you direct a movie.
I have call sheets with everyone on the film. They show up at 7 a.m. I say, I might use you. It's kind of like picking a dodgeball team.
I think that's where I think you guys are. Was it proud members of the Curse of Competence Club? Where, like you were saying, Melissa. Like I also too love a good spreadsheet, as Pete Pete may know. Like because it has that feeling where I'm like, like I'm imagining where you're like, if I were managing this, I would maybe be a little bit more sensitive to other people, just like I would want them to be sensitive to my time and the effort that I'm giving them. It's just really interesting, especially in that inflection point, I think, in creativity, right? Where I saw this really good quote online, and it was really talking about like finishing the thing. And I think especially, working in marketing, graphic design, in any level of creativity, it's not like you're around people where there is a lack of ideas. If anything, there is probably an abundance of ideas. And sometimes, and I'm sure this could be exhausting, sometimes if you find yourself being the driver or the person that is kind of pushing the ideas forward, it could be exhausting, but at the same time, it scratches that practical part of you where like, we've got to make a thing, but also like, can we be on schedule? Also, I want to make a thing.
Yeah. I mean, finishing things is the most part. I mean, like, people don't go see movies that don't exist, right? That aren't finished. Yeah. It's like heartbreaking to think about. I bring back my dear friend George Stover. He's like, I'll go out and shoot a day on a movie. I'll do like one of those crazy long days, but at the end of it, I have to have something to put on my shelf.
Nice,
it's
nice.
So heartbreaking whenever someone doesn't finish a feature, but it's like 70% done, or like it's just like it's like gutting. Yeah.
I would go do a few days on something, and time is so precious. And then it's just like, well, that never came out.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
I was going to use that thing you said, Chris, as a transition, having something on your shelf, because from what you shared online, you are now the proud owner sitting on a shelf, a holy grail of yours, a 16mm copy of
Mad Monster Party.
Mad Monster Party.
Starring Boris Karloff, and in order of their appearance,
Dracula,
Frankenstein,
the werewolf,
the Hunchback,
the mummy,
Dr. Jekyll,
Mr. Hyde.
and in order of his disappearance, the invisible man.
also starring Phyllis Diller as the hostess with the least.
Mad Monster Party!
Lunch, anyone?
It's a blast.
Last time we were talking, we were chatting about our love for Halloween specials. And I think I would be remiss if we didn't at least touch on that a little bit. Mad Monster Party. I mean, I think when you talk about all of these, Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, the Garfield Halloween special, Halloween Tree, even like modern stuff like the Toy Story one, or all like the Simpsons, Treehouse of Horror. There's that, but then there's like the stuff we grew up on, the stuff that's like part of the DNA of the stuff that you guys make. And when you're on your porch and you're playing that 16mm copy of Mad Monster Party and kids are coming and trick-or-treating, like that's heaven, right? For you guys? Like that's kind of like, doesn't get much better than that.
I mean, Halloween at our house is like, well, it's funny. Years ago, we used to go places for Halloween.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, we realized like, that's not really what Halloween should be. And it's never going to live up to the expectation of what we want Halloween to be.
Is it because the places you were going had less decorations than what you already had in your house?
No, I mean, for me, it's like, I didn't like the vibe of like ending up at like a punk bar on Halloween and people are in half-ass costumes and like everyone's drinking shitty beer. And instead, like the magic of Halloween in my head is partially the trick-or-treating adventure, right? So what we do at our house is obviously the front porch is very decorated. I probably have to do the graveyard this weekend. Basically, I guess 3:00 or so. We start getting trick-or-treaters, 4:00. Yeah.
A little early with little kids.
Yeah. So we have 3 offerings for kids. We have our traditional candy. Then we've made over the last couple of years treat bags of like toys, erasers, things like then we have bags of like savory stuff, like some bags of chips. And that's because ideally, if it doesn't rain or depending on the weather is, we'll show the movies and then we put up blankets and people can sit on the porch and watch movies.
Wicked.
And then we have shots for the parents.
Yes.
Nice.
Everyone wins.
Some cocktails, you might say, Melissa.
Yes. So, but we've been asked, like, case in point, we were asked to judge a costume contest on Halloween.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, it'll wrap up by like 8:00, so you can still get home. Like, oh no,
you missed.
This tradition. Because there was one year, a couple years ago, where I went and judged an in-person costume contest as Aurora, and I rushed home, and like trick-or-treating was already about half over, and it just sucked. I just wanted to be here. I love for me, it's like Halloween is amazing. I love it as an adult, but like what really matters to me is like seeing kids come up, and we don't pull that bullshit with like, if you're not in a costume, you don't get candy, because some kids can't afford costumes and they should be allowed to trick or treat. And I hate that gatekeeping of Halloween because it's just fucking candy. Like,
and I don't want it in my house after
that's true
October 31st.
I hate this shit where people are like, well, if you're not in a costume, well, maybe that kid could afford lunch or a costume. And
no, totally. No, I mean, I think Halloween's is really, and plus we have a lot of friends come over, especially with kids, and we'll order pizza and stuff. It's a big party, and it's just like, my favorite part is using the projector. So many kids are like, what the hell is that? Like, they don't know what it is.
So good.
Is that something that you did with your family, Chris, when you were young?
No, I mean, the projector stuff comes from. So when I was in college, I was a projectionist at this small independent theater. It's called the Heritage. It was this sort of like very Afrocentric. Like the owner of the theater was this ex-Black Panther, and he would show these like really basically crazy stuff, like a lot of like blaxploitation movies and things like that. But like let me do like horror movie nights. He had tattoo parties and would show Superfly. And at that time period, I started collecting a lot of 60 millimeter film prints, at least the ones that I could afford in the early 2000s on like the budget of a guy working at a movie theater. So I had a projector that was essentially about to be thrown out from a local school. That was a really nice projector because the 16 projectors at that time were like what they were using to show education films. And luckily my parents never threw out what I saved, either the film prints or that projector. And when we bought a house, I was finally like, oh my God, we have this backyard. We could do movie nights again. So I started going on eBay, and actually found this guy. I found this guy. He used to be a marketing dude at a fairly well-known TV station, nationally syndicated television station, that would let me fill up my car as many prints as would I fill up for $100 each time.
Wow.
I got like I have a print of, I will warn you, most of these prints are turned, like they're pink or like red, but at the same time too, I've got a turned print of The Exorcist. We're going to watch this Saturday. It's just one of the situations where like I became very passionate about tracking down Halloween themed shorts, because that's what we show on the front porch. So mostly short.
Nice.
That's a Mad Monster Party this year, but
yeah. I was going to ask you, Pete, did you have any memories of like watching Halloween specials growing up?
Yeah. One of my favorite holidays, and has been since I was a kid. Yeah, I have memories of going over my friend Billy Canamere's house it was like the first like real like Halloween party that I attended, like complete with bobbing apples. I don't think I bobbed for an apple before or since, but I did that night. So I feel like that checked that off my list. It was awesome. And I remember watching the Disney Legend of Sleepy Hollow.
Ichabod and Mr. Toad. Ichabod.
Boom, 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 boom.
Ichabod and Mr. Toad. Ichabod, Ichabod, Ichabod.
For a rollicking ride through Sleepy Hollow, Walt and Bing bring to laughable, colorful life Washington Irving's exciting legend with that awkward schoolmaster Ichabod Crane.
Ichabod may be quaint, maybe odd, and maybe he ain't. Anyway, there's no complaint from Ichabod Crane.
Ichabod Crane, daring, reckless, losing his heart to Katrina the cutie, and his head when pursued by the hair-raising headless horseman.
On top of being an excellent animated short, also one of my favorite short stories of all time, Washington Irving, classic. I drove to Sleepy Hollow. I grew up on Long Island. I lived in Boston for 14 years. And one day I was just like, it was like a fall Saturday. I'm like, I'm going to drive to Sleepy Hollow just for the hell of it. And, like the Dutch church that is mentioned in the short story is still there in the cemetery. It's nice. Mind blowing. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's Sleepy Hollow is where I proposed to Melissa. And
oh wow,
rad!
Yep. Actually, at the if you're familiar with the Great Jack-o'-lantern Blaze, so it's like thousands of like carved pumpkins.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I mean we go to Sleepy Hollow probably usually once a year. This year we did it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool, you guys.
It's like 3 hours north. So yeah.
So I mean Halloween. I mean the other one. I mean. The Cosby aspect aside, the Fat Albert Halloween special.
Hold on to your seat, because it's that time of year. Time to say,
hey, 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 it's Fat Albert Halloween special.
And the climax of the Fright Night festivities will be to get you-know-who.
It's the Halloween scene with the Cosby Kids.
So don't miss the Fat Albert Halloween special right here.
Don't miss the fun today at 4 here on WDZL Channel 39.
Just amazing. Like when they go meet Mudfoot, he was just like sucking on like this candies, and there's like,
I think that episode's called Old Folks Are A-OK or something, because it's like
nice.
Or whoever the person that's like the creepy house, they don't like is like old and weird.
Right. Yeah. So that just like a random memory that I have, but like I look forward to the Fat Albert the Halloween special like every year.
Yeah.
That's like the nostalgia, like shot of adrenaline, whatever, not adrenaline, whatever.
Yeah. Sure. I'll say, let's keep the Halloween love going. Josh, how about you?
Yeah, I think the Sleepy Hollow, like Pete said, like that the sequence is so terrifying with the actual horseman. It's so good and beautifully animated, and it looks like a different movie, which I adore. Mm-hmm. And like I rewatched it with the kids recently. They're 12 and 14, and I forgot how goofy the front end is. So intentional. Because so that by the time you get to the Sleepy Hollow stuff, it's totally terrifying. Yeah. Like it's one of the scariest, 2.5 minutes, right, that they produced at that time. And then the other thing, right, for Great Pumpkin.
Witches and owls make the scene when Charlie Brown and his Peanuts playmates go on a haunting spree in a happy Halloween special that's filled with delightful, heartwarming adventures from their wonderful cartoon world. It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown.
And I actually talk about this when I talk like story and stuff. Like one of the reasons I love Great Pumpkin is it's got one of the best Lucy moments like ever, like in the history of Peanuts. She gives Linus the biggest ration of shit in that episode, harsher than anything, right? And then she's the one in the middle of the night who goes and gets him and takes him home. Mm-hmm. And in no dialogue, you get exactly how much she loves her brother. And she doesn't say a thing. And it's totally unspoken. And it's like, and you don't think about it. You just go, oh yeah, well, the pumpkin didn't come. But it's like, no, like she's the raddest older sister, but she can only be the raddest older sister when no one's watching. Yeah. And like, I adore that.
Yeah. I haven't watched that one in a long time. Yeah. So far this year we watched The Midnight Hour.
I'm gonna wait till the midnight hour.
This Halloween, have a devil of a good time. The Midnight Hour, Saturday.
The made-for-TV movie to cash it on Michael Jackson's Thriller.
Oh, yes.
If you haven't seen that one, it's actually Anchor Bay released it many years ago, but it's now long out of print. You can probably find it on YouTube. That's a really good one. It's really bad, but like it's very entertaining. And then Halloween Tree, you mentioned, Bernie.
What do you know about Halloween?
First, the Halloween Tree.
Follow the adventures of 5 ordinary kids on an extraordinary Halloween night they'll never forget as they travel through space, across time, and around the world to unravel the history and mystery of Halloween.
Anything's possible on Halloween.
That's like the one I always watch on Halloween. Like I usually,
very cool.
Early in the day, I start doing that. Yeah. Trying to think, what are the other big ones we watch?
We watched Hollowgate about 4 times because I did a Shocktail Hour episode for it. For terror.
Yeah, if you go ahead and Hollowgate, it's like a city life. It's like Troma's shot on video label in the late 80s, early 90s.
Halloween, the time for trick or treat. But at Hollowgate, it's trick or tracheotomy.
What's a little surgery?
Move over, Michael Myers. Jason, get out of town. This Halloween, there's a new deranged killer on the block. Hollowgate belongs to Mark.
What's a little Halloween pretend, huh?
Mark lures teens to his sprawling estate, Hollowgate, by promising them endless sex and sweets. But once the guests are on his grounds, there are no bounds. Mark will do anything to feed his sadistic fetishes. First, he stuffs his guests with Halloween goodies. Then he stuffs and mounts them. I'm coming to get you. Hollowgate is destined to become one of the all-time unforgettable fright films. Just don't let Mark carve your pumpkin. Hollowgate. Happy Halloween.
But dude, Hollowgate is like, it's a really terrible shot on video movie from, I think, 88. It's very offensive. It's very problematic.
Yeah.
But TerraVision's putting it out. I think it comes out in November, and we did a shot.
Because that's been one that we watch where we carve pumpkins.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Is that like a yearly tradition? The pumpkins, the front porch, the projection?
Yeah. Usually, I'm trying to think this year. Well, I guess we'll do it on Monday to carve pumpkins, probably.
Well, we'll be driving home on Monday. We drive home like the day before Halloween.
Oh yeah, because we're doing our so Aurora's hosting
Tournament of Terror.
Oh yeah, throw those dates, Melissa.
Yeah.
Tournament of Terror is going to be in Baltimore on October 20th at Golden West Cafe. Tickets for that are on Eventbrite. If you just search Shocktail Hour, search Tournament of Terror. And then on October 28th at 4 p.m. at Nightmares Film Festival, we're going to be doing it. So we're playing such games as the Vincent Price is Right, Win, Lose, or Draw Blood. We have a Wheel of Misfortune that has, I think, 2 slots where I'll give you a prize, but all the rest are things that are
you don't want to do.
There was one, I don't know if this one made the cut, but I suggested one of the slots being just leave. Just go. You just leave the party. You're not
Just go.
That is the one thing about anyone that catches up on your feed. You guys are very well traveled between Blobfest, Baltimore Con. You guys were even at the Joe Bob drive-in jamboree.
That's from a year and a half ago. They finally episode.
Yeah,
but like that was like I think right after it was like July of like the COVID, like once everyone got when everyone got vaccinated. We were up front and we did not expect to be so prominent in the Joe Bob episode.
How funny!
I think it's probably because Melissa's probably the only person that did the dance correctly.
Yeah, we travel a lot, and last year for Out There we did
13 cities.
Because it screened in 15 cities, and we were there for 13 of them. And for a handful of them, we did a Shocktail Hour pre-show.
To the phone line.
With toupees.
Greetings. Halloween ain't just sexy witches and candy corn.
Open up that candy you were saving for trick-or-treaters and dim the lights. Because this is going to be a scream.
Venture deep into the world of the unexplainable with Tate Dawson and Ivy Sparks.
Tonight, Out There is proud to present all the evidence in a once-in-a-lifetime television event.
This will be the most incredible television special of all time, and you can't miss a single second.
That's a true fact.
Things are about to get weird.
I was very sad when you guys came to the Music Box and I was not able to come in Chicago because
Chicago.
I'm like just outside of Chicago. Like I could get to the Music Box in like 45 minutes. One of my favorite stories of all time is watching Lucio Fulci's The Beyond there at a midnight show. And my buddy Steve Baggio and I, like it's done at like, let's say like 1:45 a.m. And we're leaving and it's a messed up movie. It's very ethereal, very dreamlike. And then we get to like the first stoplight and all of a sudden there are maybe, like, no joke, about 100 naked bicyclists going through this intersection. And Steve and I, huge horror fans, kind of look at each other because we're like, it's 1:45. Like, we got off of work at like 10, ran to the theater. This is awesome. We're like, this isn't happening. Like, this isn't real. Like, I don't know where we are, but this is so strange. Oh my God, you guys were there at that theater, or like I saw Mystery Science Theater, the movie as well. Shit. I wish I could make it. So
that was a great screening too. I mean, like that was most attended. That was just
you missed the best night ever
ever in history.
It's crazy.
And people got free 401ks. Man,
wild. Investment advice.
And it was wild.
Probably the biggest advice they got would have been to visit WNUF.bigcartel.com. Best investment you can make, because that way you can check out WNUF Halloween special, the Out There Megal Tape, Cannibal Campout, Shocktail Hour, What Happened Next Will Scare You, Call Girl of Cthulhu, shirts, prints, because I think this is how this works, folks. If you support people like Melissa and Chris, they make more stuff. And if they make more stuff, they can make me feel shitty about not seeing them when they're touring. Promote said stuff. You guys are awesome. Thank you for like taking the time, being generous, sharing a little bit about yourselves, a little peek into this. Is there anything we didn't cover? Anything that you guys wanted to go over? Or Chris, any neuroses you wanted to share this time around that you picked?
Yeah. About my dad. So like what I will tell you is this is about Halloween specials. We are starting Saturday going into production on a WNUF adjacent, what I would call a true Halloween special.
Is it Bogies, the actual movie?
No, it's not. Oh man, I fucking wish. Although what's really funny about Bogies is when we were at Fright Fest, there's a guy from Ocean City, Maryland there who was like, I work at a mini golf course. And I was like, oh my God. Damn it. But no, Saturday we'll start production on our, I've joked about it this way. If WNUF is eventually going to be a trilogy, this will be my Ewok adventure.
Oh my God.
It is called Trick or Treat with Reed Richmond. So George Stover's character from Out There Negative. It's essentially a Sci-Fi Channel type special about the history of Halloween and the folklore behind things like vampires and mummies and werewolves. 60 minutes. Exactly. So it's if anyone goes into it expecting a narrative film, they'll be very disappointed. It is literally like a special interest tape. But yeah,
we're little trivia bits in there, Chris, maybe?
I don't kind of. There's a little okay. But no true facts per se.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's so exciting.
It is super exciting.
Yeah, George is coming over Saturday, and we're gonna do all his voiceover from that one, and then we're gonna go. Then we'll probably film him on the porch sometime next month or so.
That is awesome.
Fantastic.
America needs more Frank Stewart. That's all I can say.
Oh my God, are you kidding? Yes.
100%.
Yes. If he decides to run for like the highest office in November of next year, like Frank, you have one vote coming towards you right now. 100%. Yes.
He's probably the same age range of all the candidates that are going to be on the ballot.